Hi, I'm Christopher Warnock of Renaissance Astrology, and today I'm going to do a comprehensive discussion of Renaissance astrology talismans for wisdom and for skill in astrology and magic. So when I look at the talismans that we've got and the what sell, basically the number one seller is going to be talismans for wealth, for money. That's number one. Number two is probably protection talismans. And then three, maybe love. There's lots of other things they can buy. But I tell you what, no matter how they sell, no matter, like I said, how popular they are, I always want to have a full selection of talismans for wisdom. Because, as Proverbs says, wisdom is better than silver and gold. And what I'm finding is more and more people are waking up to that, but also the fact that it's very much intertwined with skill in astrology and magic. This is all this deep knowledge, this wisdom, this understanding of reality is all extremely important in the practice of astrology and magic. And people that are doing astrological magic and astrology are thinking, hey, why don't I get a talisman that helps increase my skill, increase my depth of knowledge, increase my wisdom, and help me with my practice and study of astrology and magic? Because let's face it, traditional astrology, medieval Renaissance astrology, is very complex. Not something you can pick up in 15 minutes. Definitely could use some help with it, and also it's nice to punch up the power of the magic that you're doing and your divination, your astrology that you're doing. So very useful. So what I would say about it is that while the wisdom talismans are not number one in sales, they're becoming increasingly popular, and it's extremely important. We have a really wide selection of them just because I'm so I'm so serious about having these talismans because I think they're so important. So let's just, again, typical Renaissance astrology video. Let's do a little bit of a deep dive and talk about what is wisdom. And I think the modern, the modern thing is a sort of a caricature. You've got this, it used to be like Confucius say, these little sayings, or Einstein, little quotes from Einstein that are fake. They're not by Einstein. And that's somehow being wise. I mean, wisdom is somehow seen as somehow like intelligent or something. There's a very, I think, a sophomoric approach, very kind of ironic, deprecating approach to that sort of thing, and not a recognition of how important it is. I mean, certainly in traditional societies, wisdom is extremely important, and as I said, the most important thing of all. Wisdom is often confused with cunning. Cunning is this sort of deviousness in pursuit of selfish desires or power, getting what you want. I mean, I think a wonderful example of cunning is nuclear weapons. Very clever, took a lot of intelligence to do that, but is extremely stupid, foolish thing for anyone to ever be involved with. Okay, what a disaster, because humans just do not have the capability to act in a wise enough way to have that amount of power. Wisdom is this deep understanding of reality, and not in a theoretical way, not a professor way, not a sort of like mind game, lots of details and stuff like that, making up the sort of stuff, but this really deep understanding of reality as it really is, and then being able to work within that reality for an overall positive result. So not acting in your short-term selfish interest, you're not being half smart and being sneaky and then it blows up in your face. That's not wisdom. Wisdom is being able, like I said, to act in not only yours, but everyone's long-term self-interest, really enlightened self-interest. If you want to get the best for yourself, you want to help other people. You want things to go smoothly. You don't want to get into a lot of arguments or problems or whatever. You want everything to work as best it can. Wisdom is often a question expressed through non-action, through patience, and particularly also through economy of effort. If you're really wise, you can really make a little bit of effort and have a tremendous result. You can see these little points of interaction that are possible, little levers, little points of interaction where a small amount of effort in the right direction can have really good results. So, I mean, I think a good example of that, the Tao Te Ching, this is from the 17th stanza, says, when the master governs, the people are hardly aware he exists. The next best is a leader who's loved, the next one who's feared, and the worst is one who's despised. The master doesn't talk, he acts. And when his work is done, the people say, amazing, we did it all by ourselves. So that is truly a wise action. So wisdom is really an essential part of the right-hand spiritual path. If you're going to follow the right-hand path, you really need to develop wisdom. Wisdom is also very closely tied in with esoteric arts. You need a certain amount of wisdom to even touch the surface of medieval Renaissance astrology and to practice it. like I said, understanding reality and being able to operate effectively and positively within reality. And this is really, again, an essential, it's a really essential skill in almost anything, the wisdom, but in particularly, like I said, with esoteric arts, because they're, again, astrology, what we're trying to see is to predict, we have to see reality. And then if we're going to do magic, we have to be able to operate within it. And we want to do that in a way that's not going to have blowback for us, that's not going to hurt other people, that's going to have a positive effect overall, that our intervention is really going to be for the best. So let's just think about this, talk about it a little astrologically. And really for me, the very first planet, in fact, the first astrological factor that comes to mind is Saturn. Now Saturn, there's lots of fear around Saturn. I think there's an automatic run. Oh, he's a malefic. Oh, Saturn's messing me up and running away from it. Saturn's always bad. This is not understanding the nature of the planets and medieval Renaissance astrology. All the planets have a good side and a bad side. Jupiter and Venus, they have problems too, and they're not all good. Saturn, when Saturn is well dignified, particularly exalted or dignified by sign, he really is the ruler of the deepest wisdom. Also is a co-ruler of the esoteric arts of astrology, alchemy, and magic. I have Saturn rising in Aquarius, and so that's certainly points to the fact that you can just see how deeply I've gotten into the astrology and magic. Hopefully to be wise. I remember being like 18 or 19 years old and wanting to be wise. I think that's a really odd thing for a 19-year-old. But that's, I think, that influence there. There's other things in the chart. Like I said, I don't think you can, there's these supposed signatures. That doesn't work. There's lots of ways of pointing things out. You need to be able to understand the underlying pattern through, and you can't just say X factor equals Y result or something like that. But nevertheless, there's certainly, when anybody I come across, there's a natal chart that has Saturn exalted in Libra and in rulership by sign in Capricorn and Aquarius, I'm almost invariably going to encourage that person to work with Saturn. That they have a capacity for wisdom, and that's something that they should work on and think about. So let's just, essentially, any Saturn talisman is going to have these basic qualities. It's going to be good for wisdom. It's going to be good for understanding this deeper knowledge, for occult philosophy, and working with the esoteric arts of astrology and magic. So let me just show you two images. These are the basic sort of types of. We have a lot of different Saturn talismans. You can check out the links. All the talismans I'm going to talk about specifically, you can see links to. This is the Saturn image. This is a Nigel Jackson image. Gorgeous. This is the Saturn throne image. And then let me show you this is the Saturn dragon image. Gorgeous. These are provided along with the talismans. These are the consecration and meditation images. These encapsulate really Saturn, the occult virtue. These are images coming from the Anima Mundi, and which is exactly what Nigel said. He's essentially manifesting them. So there's a direct connection, very powerful. And again, Saturn is really a key planet. Now, a lot of times, as I'm going through this, if you're serious about getting a Renaissance astrology talisman, send me an email. The contact information is there. I'd be happy to look at your natal chart and give you suggestions. Unfortunately, Saturn is afflicted in a lot of people's charts, and that puts a question mark. And at that point, anything that's afflicted that you want to work with, we want to do an I Ching reading, and that can be negative or positive. That gives us or divination really is an excellent choice. Ultimately, your intuition. As I'm going through this and looking at these various choices, there'll be talismans that jump out at you. If you're interested in wisdom, you say, you know what, I like that talisman, and then that's how you make your final choice. Once you determine what's compatible, then you can be very comfortable letting your intuition make the choice and not worrying about it. A lot of people bring a lot of fear to talisman choice. Any of your choices of compatible talismans are going to be a good choice. Don't worry about it. Let your intuition guide you. So again, Saturn, as I said, really I think one of the most important planets for wisdom and for esoteric arts. So the next planet we're going to take a look at is Mercury. And Mercury is a co-ruler with Saturn of astrology, alchemy, and magic. Again, note that rulership, as I said, is not only planet A rules the effect B or the thing B. All 7 planets are all at different levels in all things. And all the planets, I mean, typically if you have one quality, it's going to have multiple rulers. And we're going to see here the different planets that are involved with wisdom. They have different aspects of it. Mercury might be considered more practical, maybe more hands-on. He certainly can be very devious. Not to say Saturn can't be devious as well, but Mercury is a little more in the sort of cunning, but definitely still has a very strong component of wisdom, but is a particularly known as the ruler of esoteric arts of astrology, alchemy, and magic. These are the Hermetic arts. So this is the generalized Mercury image. For the winged Mercury, those talismans, all the Mercury talismans are going to be excellent for magic, for astrology, for study, for learning, for memory, for eloquence, all excellent for that. Now, a specific Mercury talisman is the Mercury Peacock talisman. And this particular image is, again, the talisman is excellent for all general Mercury powers, as I said, but also it says it conduces to memory, understanding, and divination, and to the understanding of occult things by dreams. So again, you can see how this is specifically useful for occult knowledge, for esoteric knowledge, and for increasing your skill in these areas, as well as I said, practicing astrology and magic. Now, another specific Mercury talisman we have, this is the Hermes Trismegistus talisman. Gorgeous Nigel Jackson image of Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great Hermes, who's of course the patron. Not sure whether it's a god or human. I mean, always at the boundary lines, always, having both and never being one thing. Really one of my favorite. All my altars, all my astrological altars, almost all of them have Hermes Trismegistus prominently displayed in there because of it. He's such a key figure. This talisman is specifically for the esoteric arts, for wisdom, for initiation to the Western esoteric tradition, and really wonderful for veneration of Hermes Trismegistus. I said that's why he's on my altar, so I can honor him and venerate him every time I do astrological magic and recognize the key role that he plays. So very special election for this talisman. It's coming from the Nag Hammadi library, the discourse on the 8th and the 9th, which is an ancient Hermetic text. Very cool. So then the final specific Mercury talisman I want to talk about is the Mercury Al-Alim talisman. This is a talisman I'm very happy to work. It's a Sufi talisman, Sufi magic, tapping into that incredible knowledge of Sufi magic, and which is very much spiritually based. Okay, so this is one of the 99 beautiful names of Allah, and Alim is the all-knowing. And really tapping into this sort of divine power. Definitely for wisdom, it says knowledge of the subtlest aspects of the mystic sciences and their most hidden secrets. And this comes from the Shams al-Marif. So an incredibly powerful talisman, very useful for the deepest esoteric knowledge and for wisdom. And so the next planet we're going to talk about for wisdom is Jupiter. Jupiter is, I'll just show you this Jupiter lion image. You can take a look at this while I'm talking. The Jupiter is said to be a public wisdom. So it's things like teaching, being a judge, philosophy, research, but also, again, has the influence of the esoteric arts. So Jupiter is also a talisman for wisdom. If Jupiter is dignified, for example, if Saturn is afflicted, but Jupiter is dignified, or Jupiter is unafflicted, then Jupiter would be a good choice for wisdom. And then again, we also have a version of the Al-Alim talisman. This is a Jupiter version, okay? And the Shams al-Marif makes it clear that you can make this talisman with both Jupiter or Mercury. They have some subtle differences. The Jupiter Al-Alim, it says, teaches the user the deepest and most profound subtleties of esoteric wisdom and mystical knowledge, and the user obtains a profound understanding of esoteric wisdom and the mystic sciences. So again, very powerful, very useful for both, like I said, for wisdom and also for the direct practical knowledge and use of the esoteric arts. So let's talk about some additional talismans. These are going to be fixed star and constellation talismans, and these are specifically for wisdom. And so the first one is Cygnus, the swan. Cygnus is for great knowledge, also for love, riches, and health, so that you can have a kind of a multiple goals here. Very, very beautiful talisman. Again, this is a knowledge and a wisdom talisman. And then we have Hydra. Hydra is a wisdom, a protection, and wealth talisman. Hydra is the sea snake. Beautiful image of Hydra. This is the consecration image that comes with it. And then Centaurus. Centaurus is for wisdom and health. This is one of our two talismans specifically made for health, but again, it adds wisdom. The centaur, was the great teacher, and this is Sagittarius is a centaur, but this is the teacher centaur. This is so again very much emblematic of wisdom and esoteric knowledge. Next is Cetus. This is another sea dragon or sea monster. Cetus is good for wisdom, good luck, and happiness. So again, another one of our constellation wisdom talismans. And then the final constellation talisman I'm going to talk about is Draco. This is wisdom, skill, and bravery. Another talisman I'm going to talk about, I don't have the image for it, but I'm going to include the link there, is the 24th mansion. That's also specifically, that's a mansion talisman. That's specifically for knowledge and knowing all the esoteric sciences and occult arts. So you can check that out. Check out that link. That's if you're interested in a mansion talisman for wisdom, that's an excellent choice. So the final one is probably, this is what I recommend almost invariably if people are asking for a talisman to help with astrology or magic, particularly with magic, to increase their efficacy and invocation and consecrations and their magical skills, are the Pleiades. The Pleiades is a fixed star cluster, specifically for a secret knowledge and esoteric skill. Agrippa says this talisman is to assemble spirits, to raise winds, and to reveal secrets and hidden things. And let me just give some examples. I mean, when I first started working with the Pleiades, it's very interesting. Almost immediately after working with them, I discovered in the Greek magical papyri Zizabio, which is now on the talismans as the spirit of the Pleiades. And I do the invocation. I do Pleiades typically every day. I do a Pleiades invocation. It's a very important talisman and fixed star cluster for me. Similarly, again, a little bit while later, when I was still working with or initially working with the Pleiades, I discovered these 36 decan face sigils in an ancient source. So, I really can say that gives some examples of how, that played itself out. Now, again, if people are looking for lightning bolts or like instantaneous knowledge or suddenly you're going to be all powerful, you're likely to be disappointed. If you use the talismans or work with them, I mean, again, it's not very wise to be expecting that. I mean, wisdom is, again, if someone who's interested in wisdom, I think has their act together, has a little more subtle understanding of reality to start with, even desiring it. And so being open to what the thing can bring you, not expecting flashy results, not expecting instantaneous results, enjoying just doing the invocation and consecrations, this is really the way to have success with these. But I wanted to talk about these talismans. We have an incredible selection, as you can see, of wisdom talismans and talismans for esoteric arts of astrology and magic. And definitely, if you are an astrologer or astrological magician, why not use that knowledge to increase, to use a talisman to increase your skill and increase your knowledge. But ultimately, like I said, wisdom is the most important thing. If you're wise, that will get you money. If you're wise, then you can understand how to work with love or deal with it, whatever the situation is. It's being able to understand reality and work within the confines of reality in a positive way. I don't think there's anything that's more important to that. And I say daily, that's my study. Daily, to try to increase in wisdom is really what I try to do. So again, I think this is the talismanic area that really dovetails the most with the spiritual path. I mean, you're really focusing on spiritual results here. And I think it's really, really valuable and something that's really worthwhile to work on. So again, if it intrigues you, if you're interested in it, if it's something that sounds like you want to follow it, then I would definitely follow that impulse. That's a positive impulse. As I said, wisdom is better than silver and gold.